Welcome back to Ascended Warrior. Today we're kicking off a powerful 3-part series with astrologer and spiritual guide, Ty Hudnall. In this first conversation, we're going to explore how astrology helps us reframe what's happening in our world right now, from repeating life cycles to the deeper spiritual patterns around you. If you've been feeling that these are turbulent times, this episode will give you a higher perspective and a sense of divine rhythm in the chaos. We're also going to dive into the astrology of America's birth chart and what the planetary alignments meant for the foundation of that country. So let's begin. All right, guys, welcome back to Ascended Warrior. I am your host, Chris Alyssia. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. We have a really special guest today, Ty Hudnall. He and I met through his work in astrology. He brings insight into astrology, bringing out the intuitive messages of where the planets are, how they're moving. And I brought him on today to really dive into the United States, what we looked like at our inception, where the planets were at the inception of this country, because it really is DNA connected to all the other countries in the world, and what cycles are happening now and why it feels like things are moving so fast and shifting so chaotically. So Ty, thank you so much for joining us. If you would please introduce yourself and give us a little of your background.
Thanks, Chris, for having me. So I guess I'm an astrologer for the last 26, 27 years. I guess I got into astrology because I was manic depressive and, had problems like everybody else.
Mm.
So astrology helped me understand myself. These days I live in Sedona, Arizona for the last 11 years, where I have my astrology practice and shamanic practice and all of those fun things. And uh, with astrology, I'm really interested in people using it as a tool of self-awareness, self-development, self-discovery. That's what it helped me with tremendously. And I think the more we understand our own tendencies, the more we can choose to interact with the world and ourselves instead of the reaction that is the norm for us.
Absolutely. And I've definitely come to you many, many times for readings. It always uncovers something new for you to discover about yourself and your journey. And it's always timely what you need to hear and what you can hear in the present moment. It's really uncovering yourself and those little puzzle pieces that make up who you are. It's very cool.
Yeah, for me, it's sound, it's vibration,
Mm.
and astrology is our electromagnetic connection to things. We are sound and light is how we connect to the universe. And so our bodies take light and turn it into sound and sound and turn it into light. So the planets distance between each other infer their tonality, whether it's a harmonious sound or it's tension.
Mm.
And I was in music school while I was studying astrology. So putting the two together and understanding that the physics of sound apply in a big way around astrology and our feelings has been a great tool for self-development. Because a lot of times I think in our culture, we think that our opinions about things have more weight than they actually do sometimes. And there are certain laws of physics that doesn't really care about our opinions. Um, but yeah.
On that note, I want you to share what you talked about with the shift that we've gone through, moving out of that phase that we were in for 7+ years, where opinion really was key, but there was no real action behind it. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, do you remember when fake news came out?
Yes,
What
very
year?
vividly.
Right, what year was that? That was like 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
16,
The first
17.
the first election with that. So 16. Yeah.
Right. So at that time, the planet Saturn was in the sign of Sagittarius.
Mm.
And the planet Saturn, gets a really bad rap because it can be restrictive. It can restructure your whole life in some ways. But it also is about discipline and it represents like the father figure. Okay. It represents our ambitions in life and career and stuff like that. And in the sign of Sagittarius, It was the restriction of perception.
Mm.
Sagittarius is the sign of perception, and I perceive or I see is Sagittarius's key word. And we put Saturn there, that there is a restriction of perception through judgment. And any Sagittariuses out there, you guys do not like to feel judged.
My
That's
sister's
kind of
Sagittarius, so I can confirm that.
confirmation, right? That's kind of Sagittarius's medicine.
Yes.
And, now we're 7 years later or more into that, and Saturn is in the sign of Pisces.
Mm.
And so that's a 90-degree angle from Sagittarius. And 2023 is where we begin this tremendous amount of fog that we're in right now, where nobody has any clue what's going to happen. And in the last couple of weeks, everybody has been coming forward with a feeling that they don't have a destiny anymore and nothing matters in their life.
Oh,
And it's been pretty intense. And it is an end of a cycle with Saturn in Pisces before it goes into Aries next February. And about a month ago, everything in our lives cleared up a little bit. And we're like, oh, maybe there's this direction and maybe things are going to change a little bit. And we're going to have a insight of where we're headed. And we did a little bit, but then we went back into the fog about 2 weeks ago.
what's causing that? Just the end of the cycle?
No, that's our friend Saturn in Pisces, the end
Mm.
of the cycle, right? And Pisces is delusional, okay? And also the fear of what we cannot control.
Mm. That
Aren't we,
is so present right now. Oh my goodness.
yeah, aren't we afraid that we're not in control of anything?
Absolutely. That's like the basis of fear.
It's actually one of the three fears.
Mm.
Every water sign in the zodiac brings the fear. So Pisces is the fear of what we cannot control. Cancer is the fear of not having security. That's why very wealthy people sometimes can feel like they're going to have poverty no matter how
Mm.
much money's in their bank account. And then Scorpio is the fear of not having a deep connection with someone.
Mm.
So when Saturn goes through water signs, it's more emotional to really help us understand how we face these fears, to find the love inside of us, to trust what we care about and what we really love is Saturn in Pisces in a way, because we do call it the woe of all woes, the sorrow of all sorrows.
Mm.
And I have been telling people in the last 2 weeks that the world is over as you know it.
Which is a good thing.
It is, but not knowing what's it going to turn into is kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
But I think if we're going to talk about Saturn, and this is indicative of the US, and I'll bring that for sure, but the planet Neptune moves signs every 14 years. And the last time we went through a change of Neptune was 2012.
Mm.
And in 2012, we entered a period that began ramping up idealism on every level. You know, I think America's biggest problem is that people have to be right about things.
Absolutely. Crisis of certainty.
Right. And that makes them wrong or a bad, terrible person if they're not right about things.
Mm.
And our opinions have really become a problem because we can share opinions and notice that it's more about sharing opposing opinions. And that's what we just talked about as this information war between the restriction of perception through judgment
Mm.
and now this fear of what you cannot control. Okay, one side is going to destroy you, the other side will destroy you. Well, it's all being destroyed, everybody. Okay. And the deeper part of that would be bringing Pluto into the mix also, which is what brings us to America and the Pluto return, which is a 248-year cycle. How old is America? I think we're 248, aren't we?
That's it. So we were founded at the beginning of a Pluto cycle.
Well, every country that goes through this, okay, when they start their process, they go through a Pluto cycle. So whenever America was born, Recently, I was hanging out with my friend Tona from Mexico with the Toltecs, and we were talking about the cycle. And he was looking at Mexico because Mexico's older than the US.
Yeah.
And Mexico goes through what we're going through in 2069. And we started subtracting 248 from that number, and we looked it up, and it was all revolutions.
Oh, Lord.
Every 248-year cycle was a revolution,
Hmm.
and so Rome fell on its third one of these.
Hmm.
Rome lived for what, 700 and something, so 248, 248, 248. So, we have a lot of information historically, and we can go back and track the cycle of Pluto. And we usually describe the Pluto return like this. This is how I usually describe it. The Pluto return represents for a country a period of corruption on all levels,
Hmm. That gives me chills.
right? Followed by a renaissance. And historically, every single time a country turns 248, it goes real bad.
Hmm.
And then they experience a renaissance. In Europe, we call the Renaissance, right? We call that period the Renaissance because it was a Pluto return.
And it came
Okay.
after like the Inquisition and the witch trials and all that other.
Absolutely. If you watch the movie Mary, Queen of Scots, that's about Britain's first Pluto return.
Oh gosh, that I'm obsessed with that time period. So it's one of the bloodiest time periods that I've ever read about. And it was brother versus brother and sister versus sister.
Right.
There was no loyalty or allegiance, and nobody trusted anybody.
It was horrible. Yeah. So that's where we are. Okay. And, America and the war machine, of course, goes to war every time Pluto goes 3 degrees into a new sign.
Huh.
So go back to Desert Storm, go back to Vietnam, go back to World War II, all of them 3 degrees into a new sign. Now that happens next year, 2026. Pluto goes 3 degrees into Aquarius.
Hmm.
And so the only thing encouraging that I'm hearing out there is that we really can't go to war because if we do, we literally light the match to burn
Yeah.
everything down.
I can't see another war without a world war. I just don't know how it would be possible.
It isn't.
Hmm.
And this is the time we're supposed to change this. But unfortunately, think about when America got its independence from England. Okay. Now it made it where the redcoats weren't showing up on the shore every day,
Hmm.
but where we lost the war was financially and the goods coming from England
Hmm.
and the money America's been paying back to England for 248 years.
Huh.
Okay, so we won our independence to live here and not them come over and put their government and control us here. But financially, we did not win the war. Okay, because we had no leverage.
Hmm.
We were a new beginning company. We had not company, but country. We had a lot of potential. And America grew that over the years. And I'm going to show you, I'll pull up the chart in a moment, all the qualities that America has. And they are some great qualities. Okay, I have to say. Um, you have to remind me where we are because I lost it.
No, that really resonates with me. I did a card reading on the US, the founding of the US a couple of weeks ago. And I pulled this card, and it was like divine feminine. It showed this beautiful woman face forward, but if you looked really close, there's all these corrupt structures on the inside of her.
Mm,
So it was built on this illusion of freedom and patriotism and courage, but underneath was still the structures from the West
right.
because they wanted to keep those in place to get our power and our money. So that really resonates with me and validates what I was seeing in that reading.
Yeah, imagine that up until 2024 would have been historically where the Revolutionary War was fought.
Hmm.
And Pluto was in the sign of Capricorn. And in 2008, it went into Capricorn and it came out of it in 2024. Now,
Huh.
have we not seen the corporations seek to take over every part of our lives
Oh, absolutely. They're the most powerful people in the world. You
and
assume they're running the governments and all the other decisions.
or influencing them through
For sure.
lobbyists and all of those things, right? You know, Pluto and Capricorn, like in 2005, all the astrologers, there were all these articles coming out. You will watch the corporate takeover of the whole planet. Okay. And they were not kidding.
Right.
And I remember my teacher, my astrology teacher said that you will live a different life until the end of America.
Mm,
And after that, America is going to be more open to things that America has never been open to.
mm.
And that's things they can't control. And
Sounds very
so,
scary for them.
in a way, right. But we all are coming into an age of embodiment that we can't fake it anymore in all of the spiritual circles now. People are exposing their human part in a way which is great because they're uncertain also. And maybe we portrayed that we had all the ideas before, and that's not going to work in the future.
Mm,
We have to really go through it and know the depths of it so we can show up and be present for each other. And so from here until 2044, we will go back to community. And I also think that everybody in America and on the planet should demand that all of the hidden technologies
mm,
that would literally heal homelessness, it would heal housing problems and electricity problems needs to come out
hmm.
because no one else is going to change it if we let the corporations keep telling us that they don't have this. They paid so it wouldn't come out.
Right.
Okay. So, if they can suppress the things that will heal the world and tell us that they can't fix those problems, okay? They've had plenty of time to create avenues to fix those problems. There are no plans to fix the problems.
Right.
The only plans is to control the populace.
Yeah. There's no benefit to them to fix these problems. None.
None. But that's where community and our culture doesn't have community, nor the world have community at this moment because community can only come from what we share with one another, not what we
Mm,
give or think we should take because we did not receive.
mm.
So we're going to enter a new age, and right now we have tyrants and we have victims, and we're going to have to heal that collectively as we go forward. And I'm going to show you in America's chart how it really can happen.
Mm.
And America, and if you want, I can pull up the chart, okay? But if you want to
Yeah.
see it,
Yeah.
okay.
Whenever you'd like to bring it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
Uh,
let me send a request to you to share it there.
yep.
Okay. Yeah, let's just pull America's chart up here. All right. So let's just go to the US. So
I
yeah,
love
let's
this
just
tool, by the way. This tool is so much fun.
awesome. So of course, America is founded on security. Did our ancestors not leave a place where they felt insecure and suppressed?
Hmm.
Right. And so America is born under the sign of Cancer. Okay. Now, Jupiter is next to the sun here, which brings expansion in the character and optimism through nurturing a new foundation.
Mm,
And add Venus to it here to bring the sweetness of how strong a foundation can be. Okay. That is built on family values. Now, is America not built on family values?
right.
So Cancer is the sign of the mother. Is America not has not tried to be the mother of the whole world?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And all of these planets sit in the relationship house. So it's about how America relates.
Mm,
Okay. And we also see Mars here. And America is a multitasker that has to weigh all kinds of odds of things and relationships diplomatically. And America also has got in between a lot of conflicts for reasons of their own, versus reasons that they told us. And maybe there were other reasons, okay, and stuff like that. Because, I think that we can all start to really look at the history that the corporations have been part of all of it, part of the wars, part of all of it. And, it's time for the people to really understand what's been happening. And we lived in a different world before. We're coming into a world where technology is going to change things.
Mm.
And it already is. It's already changing things. And of course, we could be, of course, completely subdued by this technology. But I'm pretty sure there's way more of us than there is of them ultimately. And every
Absolutely.
revolution has that quality in it. Okay.
Mm.
Right. Not that I'm, headed out to be revolutionary. Okay. You know, so that's America's character. It's expansive, it's relating. You can do better, you can create a
Mm.
better foundation. And that's how we want to come off to the world, right?
And Fortuna, so this we're talking the seventh and the eighth houses here. If anybody's not familiar with these, that's also in Cancer. Does that play a role in this? That they have to be in touch with their emotions to actually reach?
So America is neurotic.
Yes.
Okay. Americans
Mm.
may be a little neurotic also. Okay. So I think they have promoted a culture of that in a way too, because notice that we're only interested if the groceries are still at the store or the toilet paper.
I know, gosh.
How it got there is a whole other thing, and we don't really want to know the logistics, okay?
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So America has a tendency to create a false sense of security for the people, and that's just because of its characters in Cancer.
Mm.
And ultimately, America has to learn how to nurture itself, and I think that's what America represents in a lot of ways, is how do we figure out how to actually have equality instead of respect and disrespect, because that's people's version of equality right now, which is really not equality in any way.
Right.
It is literally a tyranny.
Hmm.
And the world needs a tyrant. And there are tyrants everywhere, especially in America.
Yeah.
So we also see Mercury in the eighth house. So eighth house is secrets. So America has secrets. And look at America's part of fortune here is
Hmm.
where the money comes in. And the secrets have been that America has used the dollar to destabilize other countries
Yeah.
and get them to make loans to the IMF that can never be paid back, which
Mm.
now is the manipulation of their economies, their politics, and everything else. And this is what's tied the dollar to every other country in the world. That's why, last year we heard we're going to move away from the dollar. Have you heard that recently?
No, not at all.
And that's because no one can move away from it. Everybody's tied to it
Mm.
because some, three-letter agencies have been making sure that was a thing for a really long time in our country.
And just the goal of being important to these other countries, being in control.
Control, also, what are we talking about? Resources, okay?
Hmm.
Money, okay? Trade. Notice how all those things are controlled,
Right.
okay? And politics, okay? If you look at what happened in Venezuela, holy shit, okay?
Yeah. Yeah,
We we
absolutely.
we do not want that to happen here, but we may be headed that way. I'm not sure, okay?
Right.
So, secrets,
Mm.
okay? Neurotic secrets. And what do they call it? Top secret, okay? Right. So,
And all
you
so
know,
closely related to the sun and all of those other, it's just such a chunk of energy over there.
well, and Mercury is retrograde here.
Huh.
So it's internalized. It's an internalization of things. And, that can be, behind the scenes. You know, if you have Mercury retrograde, you may lose your keys all the time or stuff like that. But what else happens is you internalize and base everything off the past. And you have to overcome that when you have Mercury retrograde. So America possibly through our three-letter agencies, uh, you know, sought to create security by, of course, destabilizing things. A guy that wrote a great book called A Diary of an Economic Hitman. I met him personally and listened to
Mm.
his story beyond the book. And literally in the book, he says that this is what he did for our government. He went
Huh.
in and destabilized countries through bad loans and created situations they could never pay back. And, it's kind of like using the debt against things. You're
Mm.
coming in saying this is going to be great for your country, it's going to help your country, but it really didn't do anything for your country. All it did is tied our government to the control of your country.
Hmm.
Okay. Or whatever other country was trying to control your country in the steel. What do we call the Cold War now? Because obviously we've been in war ever since. Okay, World
The
War
shadow
II.
war.
Right, right.
Yeah, it
It's
never ended.
I don't think it ever did
Yeah,
because, because I think after World War II, they're like, we need these agencies to do these things
right.
because we want to avoid this ever happening. And, I do wish some of the things that were created to stop that would go back to their original doctrines,
Mm.
especially the UN.
Yeah,
I really wish they would go back and examine why they began and what their original things are, because the perversion of everything in our world is really coming through the magnification of America. And America is trying to balance the world and create balanced structures. America is very ambitious. Saturn in the 10th house.
mm.
Okay. And America has to go through a transformation of values. And this is my biggest problem with the world. Does capitalism fulfill us? Is my question to every American in the world.
Yeah.
Is capitalism your fulfillment? If it is, I will shut up. You don't need to listen to me no more. Okay. And if it made you happy, cool. But
Mm.
I haven't met anybody.
I feel
And
it feels like we've been trained to fall into that. I was in a technology conference years ago, and they talked about why each country was letting groups like Amazon and Google take over, including technology companies that were adversaries to their own. And for every country, it was different. For the US, it was convenience. We put convenience over security, over happiness, over economy, over everything, convenient. And we will
I,
sacrifice a lot to get overnight shipping.
you know why that is, right?
The dopamine hit that you get when you
I call it
your package.
validation.
Yeah. Makes
Hmm.
you feel.
Well, notice that seeking validation is human nature.
Mm,
And we don't really grow our own value until we have been betrayed, hurt, abandoned, victimized. And that's why in our 20s, of course, we're seeking that identity outside of us. But when we hit our late 30s, we start questioning why we're not fulfilled by what was promised to us. And this idea that if we worked, then we would be happy.
mhm.
Or, if we live this whole life, then we retire and live our lives, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that capitalism has nothing to do with nature.
Mm,
Capitalism is the investment with the expectation of return. Nature only can receive, like a fruit tree, and share what is received
mm,
if it received those things. And so we were taught to live from emotional bankruptcy. And that's why America's neurotic. And this idea of being able to get things, this idea I can get it means I have value.
yeah.
I mean, look at the culture of jewelry, watches, all the ridiculousness that people are spending. I don't know, 50,000, 100,000. Isn't that popular?
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's wild. It's wild that actual fulfillment is still being sold to us as a commodity
Mm.
that they don't possess.
Every commercial you see, if you buy this, you will be happy. It will fix something.
Right. Emotionally, America is erratic. Moon and Aquarius. We
Hmm.
change how we feel quickly. Notice the mass consciousness is very erratic, especially if somebody's going to lose their freedom. Do we not jump on that? And their jail trial is our favorite thing to do since OJ. Okay.
I hope you haven't been watching the recent ones because that
I,
is that is hilarious.
it's, I mean, it's a clown show, it seems like all the time, every day. I just imagine those people wearing clown makeup and I'd probably process it better.
Yeah. And they're both water signs too. So the moon, where the moon and the sun are, we have a lot of water.
Well, actually,
Oh,
Aquarius is
it's
an
air. Yes.
air, yes. And this is why the perception of freedom
Oh,
is what America was sold through a neurotic avenue. That if you spend your whole life to create security, then you can be fulfilled. And it's kind of like if someone shows up and loves you, then you can receive love too.
yeah. Then you'll be
And
fulfilled and whole. God.
happy and everything's going to be great in your life.
Mm.
And, I wish that was true for people because it'd probably be easier, but it's just not the reality of life. So, America has to learn to communicate and embody that communication, to be really honest about it. And, we do have freedoms here, right? We also, those freedoms also aren't really understood. And I think if America understood that emotional freedom, being free inside to live from what you care about, your honesty, your understanding of yourself, all of those things, and being accepted that that is yours
Mm.
and celebrate it. I think we could really, really build things, but we don't know how to work together yet.
Right.
So, America has some hard aspects and it has some great aspects. And its masculine and feminine are very balanced with the emotions. But hard work and feeling oppressed by not having security. It's not every person in this country go through this bullshit on
Yeah.
every level, right? Let's just talk about paying the rent that has gone up because the Airbnbs now can make 4 times the amount. We should be able to put together that the reason why they raised our rent
Mm.
is because of Airbnb. Okay. And the regular people without, well, this isn't fair. They're making 4 times the amount, right? In my community here, we went from about 12,000 people to about 8,000.
Good Lord. They all coming
Mhm.
out of California?
Well, they're all Airbnbs.
Oh gosh.
And since we're surrounded by the national forest, no one can live here
Uh-huh.
because it's limited. So they can't keep building like other places and where they can kind of ignore those things. But we can ignore it here. But America does have that its individuality and structure are in harmony with one another. Uranus and Saturn are in harmony in this
Mm.
chart. And that means that the structure and individual freedom have to kind of balance together. Okay. And there needs to be harmony between revolution and structure and how America relates and business is how it really, really works. And they're in harmony. America, okay, big time
Mm.
right here. Okay. This is beautiful energy and it points to America's financial house. Okay. It points a triangle over here, beautiful energy for that prosperity. But of course, you know, slavery is a thing in the world. And if we outsource everything to countries that use slave labor and all of those other things and ignore it, you know, are we really like the greatest country in the world
Right.
or are we just the most delusional country in the
Yeah.
world?
That illusion is strong and it's in every sense, just looking at the chart, it totally aligns with what's been exposed to us over the last 8 years.
Right. Well, let's take a look at what America's going through now. So on the outer wheel, you'll see the transits of today, which is a new moon. You'll see at the top of the chart, you got the sun and the moon
Mhm.
coming together. That's a new moon. It is
Oh,
an
that's right. It's a
eclipse.
good day to be doing this too.
Yeah, it's a solar eclipse
Yeah.
today. You know, this one's a lot less intense than the lunar eclipse that just went through. That
Hmm.
one was rough.
Mm.
So everybody out there that went through it, I'm sorry, you do have a destiny and you do have a path in this life. Do not forget it and do not throw yourself away because of it.
It will not let you deviate. It'll keep unfeathering your nest until you pay attention.
It is not playing. Okay. So if you see down here Pluto and Pluto, this is the symbol here. Pluto's 1 degrees Aquarius, and
Mm.
our Pluto for America is 27 degrees Capricorn. Okay. And there's another symbol in this area too. This is America's finances. And if America was a person, I would tell them in their reading, I would say that in past lives, you had an erratic loss of value
Mm.
or money. Okay. And America is that energy's coming forward in a way. And I believe it's very symbolic of the Fed, the fiat currency that was supposed to, of course, go for 99 years. And I think it's up to 120 something.
Huh.
Okay. And so it was created in this way that 99 years down the road, we would have to figure out something. Why didn't we? Why didn't we figure out something? Okay. And of course, the early 2000s is why we didn't figure out something. We got distracted by some things. And, you know,
Mm.
I don't care who's behind anything. I can only look at what happened as an astrologer and how it affected the people and our direction. But, in 1999 into 2000, 2001 and 2, we should have changed the financial system at that time.
Yeah.
But
Well,
there
we
was
got
too much
distracted.
greed. Well, there's too much greed.
Yeah.
And America, how greedy do we have to get before we realize that we are destroying ourselves and our future for our children? And it's obviously pretty greedy,
Hmm.
okay? Because notice that it's easy for us to compartmentalize that reality, and not look at what we could be doing in the world if we had those things to do it with. And see, the
Right.
financial system is a debt system, so it's not developed to help people. It's not a system of worth, it's a system of slavery.
Mm.
And it says debt on the dollar, okay? On the note, it says debt.
Does it?
It does. Debt note, okay? And that is, for me personally, I've always had a problem with it, okay? And I cannot interact with it in the way that other people do. And it has not been easy with that, okay?
Mm.
Because once you know it's slavery, how can you go back and live in it like it's going to fulfill you in any way?
Right.
So I do think the world needs a shift. And, we have an asset-backed world. Well, why don't we have asset-backed money?
Mm.
Why? We used to. And we've gone through this. There's actually history, if you want to look some of it up, it's fascinating of when we've done this in America's history of created a Federal Reserve and create a fiat currency.
When did
Okay.
we move away from that?
Well, our ancestors, they convinced them to turn in all their gold. They convinced them to get rid of the precious metals
Mm.
and to go for it, of course. And they did. And, you know, for me personally, okay, and I'm going to blame this on college a little bit, okay? I was in a college economics class, and the book in class was Will America Grow Old? I don't know if you ever came across this,
Uh-uh.
but in this economics class, this is 2000, maybe, no, this is like 97, okay? 97, 98, 30 years ago. And in the book, he shows that America's social system and Social Security could not ever, ever go past 2017
Okay.
because the numbers do not add up on any way because the baby boomers is a huge population of people.
Hmm.
And they are living longer than our ancestors ever
Absolutely.
did, right? And there is no way they can meet it.
Hmm.
And that really changed my perspective of where America was headed. And I wish I was disappointed, okay, and wrong. Okay. I do really wish I was wrong because notice that our parents are those people,
Yep.
and they have really bought into the social system in this way. But when they've dipped into it over and over again, they've decimated it. They have done really terrible things and then propped it up any way they can.
Mm.
Okay. Because who's voting for presidents? Okay. They
Yeah.
are. The
Yeah.
rest of us are like, I don't know if I even want to be involved.
Yeah. I
Okay.
haven't had a I haven't had a candidate I've wanted to vote for in my voting lifetime.
Right.
It's the lesser of two evils is really how I've always had to look at it.
And, that comes to, us needing a third party system to
Absolutely.
create any. At all.
Hmm.
But of course, nobody is ever talking about that or interested in that in any way. Okay. And I think it's because our nature is to destroy ourselves.
Mm.
And it's not the political world just a mockery of destroying our connection to each other, neighbors. All the stories I hear about people now.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely coming to a head.
Right. So, on that note,
Mm.
America is going through its dark night of the soul. And just recently, Saturn and Neptune went to the fourth house of the chart here, transit. Now, for the last 2.5 years, from late 2022, America was around communication and restriction of information and also restriction of individuality
Hmm.
has been a major thing. And America's been depressed. Okay. And we had to come out and start communicating. And do you remember fact checking?
Oh yeah. I still
Saturn,
I still request fast checking websites. They just aren't very good anymore.
right. This is the communication house and Saturn sit on it. In 2022, talk about fact checking. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Okay. And, at the end of this period of idealism that we've been in, we are seeing the destruction and the restriction of what it is not to trust ourselves.
Mm.
And that's what everybody's being asked right now, to trust themselves. And if you don't trust yourself, then everything has betrayed you. Okay. And I'm sorry, but we only betray ourselves.
Mm. It's
And
a spiritual journey. It's an internal one. Nothing is going to open your path for you. You have to look within. It's
right.
already there. So the
I
mirror
mean, right.
between what the US pattern and what society appears to be dealing with at large is incredible.
It is. The fear of not having security will be
Yeah.
dealt with in 2026. And, you know, there's another interesting thing that's happening, which is not necessarily America oriented, but it's really come to my attention lately. And before I get there, I want to say that this restructuring of our inner security and our inner spirituality is going to come through a very different energy than we've been living in.
Hmm.
And that energy is very tangible, and we call it harmony through conflict. And it says that what we face, we change. What we run away from, we don't.
Yeah. The path of the warrior.
And yes, it's Aries. So it
Hmm.
is time for Americans to understand that there is no more room to be soldiers. It's time for us to be warriors. And
Hmm.
warriors put themselves first and they face death so that nobody or nothing inside of them can use it against them. We have to start living like we have nothing to lose.
Hmm.
And what do we really have to lose? Have we not lost everything in the last couple of years? Like our families, our
Hmm.
sanity. Okay, our being able to
Trust.
talk to somebody on the
Yeah.
street without them losing their minds.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So, on a different note, one thing we get into astrology, there's a lot of books that say that when we discover a planet, we are ready to consciously process that. For example, the Uranus was discovered and we had the Industrial Revolution. It changed
Mm.
everything on the planet. Neptune was discovered. We have photography at the same time coming forward where you can take a picture of something and if there's some things there that weren't there in your eyesight.
That's so
Okay.
cool.
Pluto was discovered and we made the atomic bomb.
Ugh.
Uh-huh. Right. And in 1977, Chiron was discovered.
Hmm.
And Chiron it's just a little smaller than Earth, okay? They call it a planetoid, okay? Earth is really small, okay, on the scale of things in the universe. But Chiron orbits in between Saturn and Uranus, and this is structure and revolution. This is what we call the rainbow bridge between the two. And in your brain, we would call that the corpus callosum.
Hmm.
It's what connects your hemispheres together. And Americans, everybody, we are half-brain people where we think we can fix everything. And when we're not there, we feel like the past repeats itself and everything keeps happening over and over to us. And that is the tilting of our magnetic field to the left or the right brain.
Hmm.
Now, now Chiron represents what it is to live multidimensionally and to face the lesson of loss and separation, which is death. And as we get older and our parents pass and friends pass, and we begin to face what it is to live by facing death, and is a big part of the Chironic journey. And this next year, 2026, Chiron turns 49 years old from its discovery. And its cycle is a 49 to 51 year cycle, which we call the consciousness crisis. And so America or the whole planet is going through 2026, 2027, 2028, its consciousness crisis. And we can either choose to live in the light and matter of the world, which makes up 3% of it, and think that's all that exists. Or we can look at the unseen world and realize that our feelings are important.
Hmm.
And, science even tells us now that the unseen part of everything bends light and connects every single thing together in the universe called the cosmic web.
Hmm.
Okay. And I usually ask people, what's the percentage of manifesting something from 3% versus 97? Okay. So our world thinks that only what is seen is available, but how they feel about things tells a different story. And since we are trained to avoid our feelings, okay, that means we begin to attract everything that we don't want through the law of sympathetic vibration.
Right.
I'm like, no, universe. And it's like, oh, you want this?
Yeah.
Cool. You're telling me, please give it to me.
Yeah. We put out that message over and over again. It will eventually give it to us.
It loves to give it to us because it hears how we
Yeah.
feel. It doesn't hear what we think or do. you know? So if healing emotional problems was intellectual, I tell my clients usually that you're a very smart person. You would have figured this shit out already. It's not
Right.
intellectual, it's physics, it's sound, and it adheres to the laws of physics, not our opinions. That's why if you feel betrayed, you just didn't stop feeling betrayed. You may become bitter. If you feel judged, you didn't stop feeling judged. You just pushed it away and detached from yourself, which didn't allow forgiveness to come in and understanding to come in. And it's time for us to go through things and realize that we were taught to live against nature.
Mm.
We were taught that we are separate from nature. And that means that we don't even know how we fit into the universe itself. And it's basically light and sound. Okay. Your body takes light, turns it into sound. You get vitamin D in your blood. And then you take sound, your feelings, turn them into light and say, oh, I feel so much lighter.
Mm.
Real simple. Dr. Richard Gerber wrote that book, Vibrational Medicine, 45 years ago. He said if we taught the kids this, they probably wouldn't feel as disconnected from everything and have to seek everything outside of themselves to be valued in any way. So I'm sure the problems that we're having right now, every generation has seen these problems. But we're the generation that is here to create a new foundation of integrity, of worth, and family values. And that's what I see being destroyed in the world. And why? Why are we destroying the family? Why don't we honor the dead in our country anymore? I don't really get it because I know we love our grandparents and we love our parents, okay? But we don't have a way to face those things, a way to face death. And that's what this Chiron return is coming forward, that if we don't face death, your mind will use it against you. And
And
if
it
you've
being in
ever,
the fourth house, how does that play with the?
our feelings are heart. It's the heart of America.
Mm.
Imagine that the number of the houses are your chakras. So that's the heart chakra.
Heart.
Yeah. So notice that our whole country and world thinks being concerned means you care. Does it?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I usually have to do it this way for people because usually when concern comes out of us, we don't feel how it feels. So I usually have to say, okay, here's concern and care. And I usually apologize before I say it because I know it's going to feel real shitty. And I'll say, I'm concerned you're headed down the wrong path. Go ahead and feel that. And I give it a minute. And then I say, I care about the path that you are on.
Mm.
Which do you prefer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
The concern, it's fearful, it's judgmental, it's yeah, it's just coming from the wrong intention.
It is. And the fear of not having security makes us think that we should be able to control things instead of trust ourselves.
Right. Which is what you talked about. And again, this is mirroring the US going out and destabilizing other countries to make themselves feel more secure. All of the fixes have been external, they haven't been internal. There's no internal looks to say, how do we become who we want to become? It's all, how do we destroy everything else so that we look less less messed up? it's
Right.
it's a beautifully twisted mirror that is so
Absolutely.
unaligned with nature and the spiritual journey. It's like it's on its head.
It is. You know, America is going through a revolution in health, and it started about 2 years ago. And
Mm.
America's health house is Taurus, which rules the thyroid. Hypothyroidism in America is an epidemic.
I've got it.
Hmm. Right. It's everywhere. And of course, our food is most likely the cause, our diet
Yeah.
is the cause of that. And many people are finally revolutionizing their diet. Everybody remember the food pyramid.
Oh, God bless. Yes.
If we want to really look back and say this is where the corporations decided that selling their products were way more important than your health,
Amen.
okay?
Yes.
The confusion that that pyramid has made, okay, is unbelievable because we think that carbs are healthy for us in a way. And um, in that way, and they're not bad for us, but some of us don't process them very well.
Mm.
And some of the, of course, the pesticides and stuff that we turn a blind eye to,
Yeah.
for convenience again,
Yep.
is also we're wondering, well, why are we sick? I bought the organic.
Oh, gosh. Just the sheer volume of ingredients that don't do anything for the product except make it unhealthy. And we do it because they get to get money for putting their ingredient in there. They make money. It does zero for you or for your nutritional value or for the object that it's in, but it
Right.
gains money for somebody.
Yeah, I love those videos where it shows Europe and America and the
Yep.
list of ingredients, and you're like, it's a whole
Horrifying.
nother paragraph.
It's horrifying.
It is.
And
It is.
I'm glad that people are coming out and talking about it, but they're not incentivized to change yet.
Right. So 2026 will be the dark night of the soul of America. And we're moving from the synergy I call, okay, to this is what we're doing.
This is what we got to do.
This is our path, you know? And I think people are going to come together because they try to tell us um, that this idea that the strongest always takes over. But when we do the experiments and put people in situations where they have to work together or die, they
That's,
work together. So
yeah.
our nature is community. We just have been told that it's not.
Mm,
And we've been isolated.
yeah.
So there
And
is
turned
some
against
good
each
news.
other.
Right. There is some good news. And America is expanding through its transformational point, which
Mm,
could be things behind the scenes to affect the financial system, to affect America's voice in the world, its
mm,
soul in the world, okay? And also America's hopes, dreams, and aspirations of the future that we want to create. Because if, and here's the deal, and please, nobody take it personally, but if you're still involved in the politics, then they got you already. If you give a damn about either side and not your neighbor and the
mm.
things that they're having to go through and hardships, then we've all lost sight of what America really is. Because isn't America where we nurture each other and help each other through this shit?
Yeah.
So,
Expansion, freedom,
right.
pride. That's a very profound statement. I would put that on a bumper sticker. If you're still paying attention to politics, you have lost.
Yeah, right. You know, because if you choose a side right now, you become so imbalanced
Yes.
in everything, and everything is against the other thing. And notice, if you guys could tell me one time it wasn't against it, go back in time in your life, find me one time that the red and the blue weren't against each other on
Mm,
every level and playing out this soap opera, okay? Because they all work for the same corporation.
right.
It's called the Corporation of America, and we just read its chart,
Hmm.
okay? And that's kind of what we need to change because I don't think America should be a corporation. I'm not a corporation. I don't accept the corporatization of my being. Okay. I even think in the international courts, they went out trying to basically say that if you ate GMO corn, then we own you. Okay. How ridiculous is that shit? Okay. Okay. We changed you, so we own you. What?
Mm.
I don't even know if that's true, by the way, but I remember that was like, okay, and that could have been insanity because there's a lot of insanity out there, of course. Okay. But
But the potential and what we were set up with the opportunities to do and the tools to use are incredible. We just have to come together in community and use them and not be ruled by anything external like that. And I'm not talking laws or those, but these systems set up to benefit a very small percentage of people and hurt the rest of us. It's
America needs heart
incredible.
coherence. It is
It does.
incredible. But America needs heart coherence.
Yeah.
And America has anxiety and depression.
It's like an epidemic.
Right. So this is the chance on the fourth house here on the heart for America to understand the integrity and the discipline that it takes to face and stand for what we care about. And when I say that, I mean each other.
Yeah.
You know, we care about each other because, cancer and home and family, America does not exist without the family.
Mm,
Okay. And for all the groups that the political sides have been telling should be validated by somebody else, I encourage you to go to your grandparents and ask them if they were validated in this world by a damn thing.
Yeah. And if the system did everything it promised when they finally got to the end and were able to retire,
Right.
are you getting to live your best life now that you've done all this for the structures? Oh, that's so depressing.
It
But
is, isn't it?
it's very depressing.
It is. It's sad in a way. We just had this eclipse, the lunar eclipse, and it was at a 150-degree angle to America's Saturn in structure,
Mm,
which is create or destroy. And so we are coming into this place that America's been in a free fall financially. And it started with, of course, printing $13 trillion and putting it into the economy and devaluing the economy.
yeah.
But it started before that. And in 2018, Pluto arrived on America's financial house, and Pluto minimalizes things down to its roots.
Mm,
And then in 2019 and 2020, Saturn joined it there. And if you're a Sagittarius rising person out there, during 19, 20, 21 to 22, your whole financial reality collapsed. I have plenty of people with had a lot of money and then they didn't because of some kind of power struggle that collapsed their financial house. And America went through what we call a last chance lifetime if you're born with it, when you build structures, and if those structures don't work, you destroy them.
mm,
Now, America, it happened at 23 degrees Capricorn, which is very close to our Pluto and our Pluto return. So it really set up our Pluto return. And notice that we are at a war of opinions, not values.
mm,
And I think if we remember what our real values are and minimize our opinions, because do we really want to harm our neighbors because they believe something different?
right.
You know, my mother is hardcore into Christianity, and my practice is to accept her when she doesn't accept me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my practice because I love her.
Mm,
And, it's not easy when people's beliefs try to overpower what we should or should not do, and choice and freedom to figure it out for ourselves.
yeah. And they're just the heart. Your opinion is should never be more powerful than your heart.
Right.
I mean, we saw that with COVID, with the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. Certainly, politics,
Right.
religion's become almost a joke as far as dividing people. It has nothing on politics,
Right. Yeah,
but our we were founded because our families wanted to be free and they
absolutely.
wanted to be able to worship and believe what felt right to them without persecution.
Right. And now we're attacking each other, you know. I find that, of course, when they pit people against each other, they ignore the real issues.
Absolutely.
Like, my problem with the pandemic was that it was a gene therapy and not necessarily a vaccine. And that's the first time
Mhm.
anything like that has ever come forward for us. It's not like our normal stuff.
Right.
And, you know, if you've ever studied the DNA and the RNA and how your body replicates itself, it's real scary
Right.
to think about those things. And I remember an older gentleman at the store asking me why I wasn't afraid. And I remember saying that if death is coming for me, I'm not going to be able to stop it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he cried a little bit, we maybe both did, because he was, thinking he was doing something, to help me. And I get that, you know. Um, but it's kind of like we've lost our soul and we forgot what's really important. And it's hard to watch.
It
It's
is.
hard to watch the younger generations, which are Pluto and Sagittarius, that they're a little judgmental about things.
Mm,
Okay. 1995 to 2008 births. And, they feel like that we messed everything up. And I'm like, probably need to get your history straight because it was not good when we
Right.
got here. Okay.
Yeah.
Our parents and the baby boomers benefited the most from everything that had happened.
They hit a good peak. They did. They rode a good wave.
They did. I think, and I don't know if this is true, but somebody recently said if we were making what our parents and grandparents were making, compared to what they could buy and all of that, it'd be about $66 an hour. Okay. To do the life they had, houses, their cars, all of those things, and
Yeah.
in comparison to where we are now, of course. Right. Um, which is very different, isn't it?
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
fact that the minimum wage is only $20, they pull back on that for a long time. Even if it's that, I'm not even sure if it's that now. But again, that's only a quarter of what would be the equality. So it's like our generation buying homes and stuff like that, you had to really work for it or
Right.
really go into debt for it. And, you know, um, it's been quite interesting.
That was part one with Ty Hudnall. And we're just scratching the surface of how the karmic cycles shape our collective story. In the next episode, we'll dive deeper into the astrology of America and what the current planetary alignments mean for nations' transformation. Subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss part 2 of this Ascended Warrior journey.